Hi, my name is Sloan, and I'm thrilled to be here. With the time I have, I'd like to talk a little bit about sort of just the three challenges that I see about leaving the military and becoming a veteran, a little bit of a personal story, and then talk at the end kind of as what I see as the opportunities that exist for sort of socially minded organizations and veterans to partner together to sort of benefit both. The challenge I'm not going to say anything I think is going to be revolutionary, and I think a lot of what the speakers before me have said, I'm just going to try to encapsulate that into three buckets. The first one is purpose, the second one is community, and the third one is skills. Let's take the first challenge that I think of, and that's purpose. As you've heard, when people join the military, they get an instinctive sense of doing something greater than themselves. They are protecting those that can't protect themselves, they are fighting for freedom, they are defending their country. Everybody has that same sense of purpose, and it becomes a huge part of you. One of the big problems, though, is that when people exit the military, literally with the stroke of a pen as they sign their discharge papers, they leave a huge sense of their identity behind. So they get out of the military, and that purpose that they felt day in and day out for however long they were in the military, that sort of goes away. And that sort of leads into the second challenge, and that's community. When you're in the military, you may not be surrounded exactly by like-minded people, but you're surrounded by people that have a similar mission to what you have. Everyone is driving towards the same goal. And I don't think a lot of veterans, as they're thinking about exiting, they give a lot of thought to what it's going to be like when they go back to a community that is not like that, that is completely different, that not only doesn't understand what they've gone through, but isn't really going through, the community isn't reacting to things in sort of a homogeneous way like the military does. So you don't have a lot of thought on that. Which brings you to the third challenge that I think a lot of veterans face. And so let me paint you the picture of someone who's getting out of the military right now. You get out, and you no longer have that sense of purpose, and you no longer are in a community of people that seem to understand you. And so the third thing, though, that a lot of people unfortunately leave behind the military is the skills that they know how to do. And not only they know how to do, but what everybody else knows that they know how to do. So in the military, everyone has a skill that they have been trained on, and no matter what else they're asked to do, these set of skills they are expected to know how to do, and people do know how to do them. You're referred to often in the military by your military occupation specialty, your MOS. And so if you're an 11 Bravo, you know all the skills that an infantryman, which is what an 11 Bravo is, you know you know those skills and you know how to do them. And more importantly, like I just said, other people know that you know how to do them. The challenge is, though, when you get out of the military, it's a lot harder to put a tangible label on what it is you know how to do. And so I think you find a lot of veterans sort of, when people ask them, so what do you do? They kind of mumble something around maybe what they're kind of doing right now, but then they speak louder and they say, well, I used to be in the Army. I just got out of the Navy. For a long time I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. And there's a positive and negative aspect to answering the question of what do you do that way. The sort of negative thing is that if somebody's asking this question because they want to help you find a job, you're not really answering the question if you're a veteran. You're sort of, they want to know what you can do and you're telling them what you did. So that's the negative piece right there. The positive piece as I see it, though, is that there's a reason why veterans are answering the question that way. And the reason for that is I think purpose, which is the first challenge, but also I think the overlying opportunity here, purpose is addictive. And I think a lot of veterans answer the question about what do you do now with what they did before is because they're actually, whether they know it or not, trying to go back to a time where their lives really, in terms of the way they think about it, really was bigger than themselves, and they were doing something that made a difference. And so they answer the question that way. Where the opportunity of a whole pool of people that respond to what do you do with purpose is that there is, in fact, this whole pool of people out there that are looking and striving with, again, whether they consciously know it or not, to do something that gives them that same sense of fulfillment that they had in the military. And so if you are companies out there that are looking for people, that you are socially minded and you want to do greater good, then this is probably a pretty good pool of people for you to look for. On a personal note, I went to the United States Military Academy at West Point in '98, graduated 2002. A big thing happened September 11th of my senior year. It changed the course of my life for the next 5 years. I did Afghanistan, I did Iraq. I got out in 2007. And when I got out, I had a plan. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today who's also a veteran, about a year behind me. I was one of the first veterans to get out, and sort of before the whole wave of exiting veterans, going back to school and doing a lot of those things. I was one of the first kind of folks that got out. And I had a plan. I was going to business school. But I really had no idea, being a West Pointer and in the Army, what business was or what I was going to do after I graduated from this school. So I remember before I went to school, I said to myself, what do you want to do with this thing? And I think luck, I answered this, and the only way I really knew how, because I didn't actually know a lot, I said, well, I really like the environment. I want to do something that helps the environment. And again, by pure luck, I answered that question of what I want to do by choosing a purpose, not by choosing an occupation. I think largely maybe I didn't know exactly what an occupation coming out of a business degree would have at that point in time. But that distinction between choosing a purpose instead of an occupation made a huge difference in my life. When I showed up at school, I had an idea of where I was going. I met people. I got a community. That community opened up internships. I learned skills. I got a job. I still work in energy today. I have a sense of purpose. The idea there, and sort of the challenges, I think, is how do you take that right there, and instead of talking about how do we get veterans employed, how do we find them a job, I think the better place to start is how do you find them a purpose? And the power behind that question, how do you find them a purpose? Veterans, I think, instinctively want to do something bigger than themselves. They may not know it when they're getting out of the Army. When people want to get out of the Army, like a lot of them are tired of the bureaucracy, they're tired of being deployed, they're tired of moving, they're just tired. And so if you and top of that, they're like, well, I'm going to get out, I'm going to find a job, it's going to be fine. And that works for a few people, but a lot of people, I think, end up changing jobs or looking at different jobs because they're always searching for this purpose. So if I was to present a challenge to you all, it would be, don't wait till veterans, don't wait actually till veterans become veterans. Start with finding ways when people are still in active duty to have the conversation around, maybe it's not a job you're looking for, what do you want to do with your life next? Do you want to change healthcare? Do you want to impact the environment? What is it that you actually want to, how do you want to make a difference going forward, even if you're in the military? And answering that question, I think, is incredibly important. And I think it's important not only for veterans, but also for socially minded businesses, because this is a huge pool of people that I think you want working for you. And it's a huge pool of people, whether they know it or not, really wants to work with you. Thank you very much.